Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome with this What's New webinar for Axtension production planning. Today, I'm going to show you the new functionalities in the latest release of Axtension production planning. In this release of Axtension production planning, we've introduced the ability to set production icons and colors per production order, the ability to increase and adjust the way how you want to see information in the resource planning, a new delivery date control functionality, and the ability to sequence operations based on properties. It's now possible to set more extensively colors and icons on individual release products or even on production orders by setting the color filling of the production order operation, the borders, the pattern, optionally, and even having the ability to set a specific icon to make something clear in the resource planning for that particular production order. Once it's applied, colors, pattern, icons will be shown in the resource planning as shown in this particular example. To be able to show those kind of colors or icons or patterns, the use color from production order toggle in the planning parameters for production planning must be enabled. So as an example in Dynamics 365, we can see specific icons here, we can see specific coloring, and if I open, for instance, a particular production order, I'm going to be able to set a specific pattern if needed. Let's use this particular color. I have various pattern formats here which I can use, can save it, go back, reload the resource planning. And as you can see, that pattern is then being applied. You can use it by your own requirements to make your business understand that specific attention might be required by using either colors or specific coloring schemes on a production order. For instance, this icon here, if we go back to the production order, this icon means in this particular organization that an engineering check is required for the production order. Workers on the production orders can use this information to take appropriate action based on the rules set in your organization. But that's not the only thing we've done in the resource planning. We also increased, as you briefly saw it already in the resource planning, we also increased the row height, or we introduced the ability to increase row height. As you know, previously the row height for all the operations and jobs were simply one line big. And if you want to have more visibility of what's going on with that particular production order, you had to hover over and take a look at the tooltip. Increasing the row height on production orders will improve the readability of the information in the resource planning. The configuration of those rows can be done in the planning parameters of production planning, wherein you can set per task name the amount of rows available for the operations of jobs, and there you can define what you want to see per row number. This gives you great flexibility and to define how and to unify and to standardize the information shown in the resource planning. A new feature we added as well in the resource planning for production is the delivery date control. If added to the task name, the delivery state will be shown, showing the status of the production order, if it's either going to be on time or too late compared to the required date. If it's delayed, it will be shown as delayed. If it's on time, it will be shown as on time. It's also somewhat of a replacement for the show dateline functionality, which would only appear once a production order. So this functionality will give you a better overview without an individual selection on the status of all those production orders. It can be added as a new field to the task name, as shown here in this particular example in the planning parameters. And it can be used as a filter in a filter functionality in the resource planning. Going back to dynamics. Here we can indeed see those delayed and on-time marks over here. And when going to the filters, going to delivered state, show me everything what is going to be delayed, hitting OK. And everything else is filtered out. And only operations which have the proper status of delayed are filtered and shown for you to take appropriate action on. Big improvement we've did, or the big new functionality we did to production planning, is the ability to sequence operations based on specific properties. The ability to set your properties is completely up to you to define how you want to sequence your operations. And in this example, in this particular case, we have a temperature property. And per temperature property, we set specific values, 60 degrees, 70 degrees, 80 degrees, and 90 degrees. You can even define how you set the order. But once that planning property is set, that planning property can be applied on a release product on operations. So in this way, you can mark that a specific operation require a temperature of this case 60 degrees. And on the resources, you can define what the correct order of in this case temperature of the properties can be. If a simulation is created by selecting right mouse action on that particular resource, underneath the range options, the optimize action can be used to optimize the resource in a specific period, in this case from 19th of May until August 20th, and start scheduling from a specific date. Once executed, the operations will be scheduled based on the sequence defined on the resource. And optionally, you can even optimize the order scheduling as well, based on the new schedule on this particular resource. So how does it look like in Dynamics 365? In this case, underneath planning properties, we have a baking property with values 200, 300, and 400. As you can see, you can even change the order if needed. On specific release products, release product D001, D003, and 4, the route has been updated. So the assembly operation will include a specific baking property. On D001 is going to be 200, D003 is going to be 300, and D004 is going to be 400. Once we take a look at the resource, under the production control resources, polishing worker. The polishing worker has the planning property applied for baking in the order I want to have it. You can still override the order per individual resource, whatever you want to have. If it makes more sense in your line of business to start with, in this example, the highest temperature for baking, feel free to go ahead. If you want to start with the lowest temperature for baking, follow that sequence as well. In this particular example, I prepared a simulation, and in that simulation, a specific amount of production orders are included. So let's open this simulation. The familiar resource planning appears, and I'm going to go to Polishing Worker 1. On policy worker 1, we have the operations which are related to assembly, which all have the planning property configured. And when I go to arrange options, optimize, system will ask me, well, for which time frame do I want to optimize scheduling? Let's include a little bit more here. I want to start scheduling from the 30th, as it is right now. Optionally, I can also reschedule the complete order based on the newly scheduled operations on this resource. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to leave the other operations as they were on those production orders. Selecting OK, the system will now calculate and define what the correct sequence is going to be for those production orders. So it plays D001 first, which is requiring a temperature of 200, then D003, which requires a temperature of 300, and then D004, temperature of 400. Needless to say, it will also make sure that temperatures, in this case temperatures, but values of 200 to 300 or whatever value you're going to use, stick to each other before moving up to the next property. As you can also see, those operations affected by this optimization or effectively being optimized by this action are included in a cluster. This will give you the ability in the future to move this cluster by using the cluster select functionality, which you are all aware of, and moving that cluster to another moment if needed by keeping that planning sequence defined by this simulation, keep them together and move to another moment if needed. Next step to be publish, and then production can start working on this new sequence. Those are the new functionalities in the latest release of Axtension Production Planning. Thank you for joining us and looking forward for the next webinar. Thank you.